14 years ago this week, I stood by President Obama when he signed the Affordable Care Act into law, Obamacare. And as many of you know, I thought it was a big deal. Thank God my mom wasn't around. Well, look, it's even a bigger deal today. The Affordable Care Act is the most consequential health care since Medicare and Medicaid, and that's a fact. It was always about millions of Americans lying in bed, staring at the ceiling at night, wondering what will happen if I lose my insurance. I'll never forget, my dad came home one day. We lived in a 3-bedroom house with 4 kids and a grandpa living with us, and my bedroom wall backed up to where they were, and I could hear my dad was restless as hell. I couldn't understand why. And the next morning, I was 14 years old. I asked my mom, "What's the matter?" She said, "Well, he just lost his health insurance. The company he worked for no longer is paying for health insurance." You know, there's a lot of people lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, literally wondering what will happen if my spouse gets cancer or my child gets seriously ill. Will I have enough insurance? Can we afford the medical bills? Will we have to sell the house? What we're going to have to do? Because of all of you in this room and across the country, we changed that and made the Affordable Care Act the law of the land. But Donald Trump and his MAGA friends are, if nothing but persistent. They've tried to repeal it 50 times, not a joke, 50 times they've tried to repeal it. We stopped them every time. And now they just released the budget again. 120 or 160, I'm not sure how many of the House members put out their budget for next year. They want to get rid of the Affordable Health Care Act again. But I got news for them. We're going to stop them again. Just think back before the ACA. A patient with a heart disease, diabetes, or a child with asthma couldn't get coverage. Why? Because the insurance company considered those a pre-existing condition, allowed them to deny coverage. Everybody deserves health care. Be patient with them. They have a point. We need to get a lot more care into their houses. Today, everyone can get affordable coverage through the ACA. And 80% of the folks on the ACA plan can get a plan for $10 a month. $10 a month. 21 million people covered under ACA, a 75% increase just since Kamala and I came to office. And that includes over 1 million folks right here in North Carolina. And on top of that, more Americans have health care today than under any other president. And it's saving American taxpayers money. It saves money. You talk about we're spending, it saves the taxpayers money. It's cheaper to pay for preventative mammogram than it is to treat a cancer. And today, 100 million Americans can no longer be denied health insurance because of pre-existing conditions, whether you get your insurance through ACA or not. Americans pay more for prescription drugs than anywhere else in the world. But through the Inflation Reduction Act, again, not a single Republican voted for it, we finally beat Big Pharma. Finally. For example, instead of seniors with diabetes paying as much as $400 a month for their insulin they so badly need, they now only have to pay $35 a month, period. I want to extend those savings to everyone who needs life-saving insulin, whether you're a senior or not, everyone. My predecessor and MAGA Republicans in Congress have a different plan. Let's remember, 4 years ago this month, we saw how my predecessor didn't care much about science and reason. During the pandemic, that went on to claim 1 million American lives. For every life claimed, it's estimated there's between 8 and 10 people left behind. Trump didn't level with the American people. But even during the deadly pandemic, Trump and his MAGA friends in Congress wanted to get rid of the ACA, kick millions of Americans off their health insurance. It's sick. Now they want to, quote his word, terminate the ACA, as my predecessor says. If that ever to happen, we'd also terminate a lot of lives as well. But we're not going to let that happen, are we? We're not going to let that happen. MAGA Republicans in Congress just proposed a plan to get rid of the power of Medicare to negotiate lower prescription drugs, which could drive the cost of insulin back to $400 a month instead of $35 for seniors, and so much more. They plan to slash Medicaid as a result. Trump also recently said about Social Security and Medicare. He said, quote, I'm quoting, "There's a lot you can do in terms of cutting. Tremendous amount of things you can do if you cut." Right on cue, the same budget that the 180 House Republicans just proposed to gut Medicare and Medicaid. They'd also raise Social Security retirement age and slash Medicare, giving billions of dollars in tax breaks to the very wealthy instead. Folks, my predecessor and MAGA officials are going after seniors and people with disabilities and children. As we all know, they're going after women as well. Trump proudly says, quote, "After 50 years with no one coming close, I was able to kill Roe v. Wade." That's his statement. You've seen it on television. Well, he's talking about how Donald Trump killed Roe v. Wade. He says it has to be punishment for women exercising the reproductive freedom. Trump and MAGA Republicans are responsible for the chaos that followed, and they're now calling for a national ban on choice for every state, in every state, not just what is in law now. On top of that, just this morning, the Supreme Court heard a case to gut access to medication that was approved by the FDA 20 years ago to give women a choice. Folks, if America sends me a Congress that are Democrats, I promise you, Kamala and I will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again. I see a future where we defend democracy, not diminish democracy. I see a future where healthcare is a right and we restore the freedom to choose and protect the freedoms and not take it away. I see a future where the middle class finally has a fair shot and the wealthy begin to pay their fair share. I see a future where we save the planet from the climate crisis and our country from gun violence. Above all, a future for all Americans, for a country of all Americans. And I'll always be president for all Americans. I've never been more optimistic about our future. And I know I'm only 40 years old, times 2 plus 1. Look, we just remember who in God's name we are. And I mean this sincerely. I'll end with this. We're the United States of America. No, I'm serious. We're the United States of America. We're the only country in the world that's come out of every crisis stronger than we went in. The only country in the world. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. Not a single thing. This is the United States of America. Let's get together and get it done. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.